grandfather passed in 1985, and your grandmother in 2005.
So she went on
For another 20 years.
Decent old age, right?
Yes, 76, I think, yeah.
As I'm standing there with my dad.
Well, How I
and
Got
my
Here
aunt,
is a show that helps
it's a very
second-generation
sad
Canadians really have a better understanding of where their parents came from and also the families and other ties they left behind. And for Toronto father and daughter, their journey takes them to Belfast. So welcome to CP24 Breakfast, Bill and Sophie. Great to have both of you on here this morning. I just love the concept of this show, so I'm really fascinated to talk to both of you about this. First of all, Sophie, how did this come about? How did you get involved in this program?
Well, my mother got an email for a casting call for the show, and she relayed that information back to me. We did a couple audition tapes before finally telling my dad about it and dragging him all the way to Ireland Park to do our audition.
So
right down the Harbour Front.
she said dragging, Bill. Were you dragged, or did you go into this kind of willingly? What was the sort of process there then?
Just a little bit of early concern and then bought right in. And but as usual, I was the last person in the family to find out that this was on the menu.
It's kind of what happens to dads, isn't it?
Right.
So Bill, tell me, how long have you been in Canada coming from Belfast then?
1976, I arrived in Canada. I was actually scheduled to go on to Edmonton, but my plane landed inadvertently at Toronto, and I was able to get off the plane in Toronto and had a great career and life here. It's been just wonderful.
Pretty good. Okay, so Sophie, let's talk then about the trip to Belfast. Did you go in? Were you nervous? Were you excited? What was kind of going through your mind as you were heading over to do this?
It was definitely a mixture of both. I was both nervous and excited to see family, and I wasn't really sure what we were going to do there, but as the trip continued and it just got a lot more and more fun, and we met up with family, which was amazing to reconnect with them. It was just all over the place.
I take it you'd never been before then?
I had been before once when I was younger and twice when I was a baby, but I hadn't a very good memory of it. So just being able to go there as a teen and really understand what I was doing and what I was going in for, it meant a lot to me.
So Bill, what was that like to have Sophie see Belfast through her eyes, and you could see her seeing it and you could explain it as well? What was that all like?
It was a very exciting couple of weeks. It was also, I think, the toughest thing we have ever done.
Yeah,
that's
we
true.
shot every day, 2 locations for a dozen days, and at the end of it, we knew we had put in a good shift.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about that? Talk a little more. Just was it the grueling hours, or just the emotions? Like what?
Getting up early, along with,
says the teenager.
Getting up really, really early, along with the fact that we were doing very emotional work every single day, meeting up with family, delving into Dad's past. It was we had 3 activities every day. Yeah, and it was 2 activities mostly.
So we traveled around Northern Ireland looking not just at Belfast, which is a very changed city today from the city that I left 46 years ago. And indeed, even the street that I grew up on has gone. But the main road beside it was still very much the same, and we spent a wonderful day there walking up and down and looking at places that I, as a young boy, places that I walked past every day to go to school.
I mean, when you were there, of course, the Troubles were completely happening here. I don't know if that's part of the reason why you left or just, but what was that like to sort of help Sophie understand perhaps better the Troubles as they're called?
Yeah. And I think I would say that, first of all, that, young people have always left Ireland in great numbers. And if you asked anyone why they left, the answer would generally be, I went for the job. I went for the economic security. I went for the regularity of work. My dad was a shipyard worker, He worked when there was a ship in. If there wasn't, there was no work. And that made for a very unstable sort of life. And I had that idea in my head, and I had reinforced it over 50 years that for me, it was an economic, opportunistic move.
All right, go ahead, sorry.
This 2 weeks back in Ireland changed my mind on that and really highlighted again the political situation and the difficulties that people face when living there.
Well, listen, it must have been such an experience. Bill, Sophie, it's been a pleasure. I know the show debuts tomorrow, so you can catch it then, or wait till your family party. I guess we'll see. And you'll get to, you haven't seen it yet, so that'll be amazing to see as well. So listen, thank you both. Hope you enjoyed the sort of final product, and it's been great to meet both of you today.
Thank
Great
you.
to meet you
I think
as
it
well.
opens on Super Channel tonight, the first
Was it
in the
tonight? Okay,
series.
there we
And
are.
then
Bill knows
tomorrow
more than
it's
I
on
do. Yeah.
demand.
Okay, then it's on demand. Okay, thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it.
Debut author Brianne Somerville is opening the conversation about the ups and downs of motherhood in her new thriller, If I Lose Her. Brianne wrote the novel during her 2 maternity leaves and joins us live now on CP24 Breakfast to discuss her new book and the often overlooked topic of postpartum depression and anxiety, and also just being a new mom and parenthood and everything else. Brianne, congratulations and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
It's
this
happy
is
to be
so
here.
impressive. I was telling you the fact that you were able to write during, your 2 different mat leaves,
Yes.
and now you're on a 3rd mat leave.
I'm on my
so
3rd, doing all the marketing and promo during the 3rd.
Amazing. So double congratulations, I
Thank
should
you.
say. What was it like for you to write this book? Because I know you incorporated a lot of your own experiences as a new mother, struggling with anxiety and the issue of, that postpartum phase that not many people talk about.
And that's exactly it. I think, it is so pervasive. I think it's such a overwhelming experience to go through motherhood and be, on your own, those like lonely days that never seem to end and those sleepless nights. It's very strange that we don't talk about it more. And I found for me, I was going through postpartum anxiety. I needed a bit of an outlet, so I actually used my writing. That's something that I've always been kind of drawn to. Like if I've had, an emotional day, like writing in a journal helps me. So I ended up writing kind of my fears, my anxieties, and that ended up inspiring some of the early chapters. So there are definitely some moments that I think readers will identify with if they've been through, motherhood. It'll feel very raw, I hope.
Yeah.
And I hope that they can find that kind of connection.
Right, and the connection with, making this a book about that subject, but connecting it with making it a thriller, that gives you that escape element when you just, read a book, get completely absorbed and flip through the pages.
Exactly.
I'm curious to know, as you were writing this, I mean, they always say write what you know. So you took that from your own experiences, but you had to think up this fictional storyline.
Exactly.
Right, so did you have to do any additional research, or were you just kind of thinking, what am I going to make Joe, the main protagonist, do in this book? And maybe you can explain kind of the premise of the book.
Absolutely. So the story follows our main character, Joanna Baker, who is grappling with early motherhood. She's experiencing those baby blues, but it seems a little more intense to her. She ends up attracting the attention of child services after she receives an anonymous complaint from a neighbor who witnessed the baby outside alone on the hottest day of the summer.
Ooh.
The only thing is, Jo doesn't remember this. She has no recollection after putting her baby down in her bassinet for a nap. So the story follows Jo. She's having these memory lapses. She's not sure if it's her mind that's unraveling or if there's something more sinister happening. Someone may be out to get her. So lots of neighborhood drama, lots of family secrets, and hopefully a lot of fun for
I love
readers.
it because it's that, is it just me or are people out to get me?
Yes.
And, the psychological thriller with it actually being something that could be, who knows?
Yes.
When you were writing this, without giving any spoilers away, what was kind of the most difficult parts for you to write?
Yeah, so the writing about the anxiety, I actually found cathartic for me. The challenging part for me was writing about Jo's relationship with her own mother, which was very tumultuous. Because I have this is my moment for my mom, but I have such a loving mom, and I have such role models of mothers who have been so caring, so that I needed to really use my imagination for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was probably the most challenging. You do get a bit of the past timeline of Jo's adolescence, and you get to see kind of what her relationship with her own mother was like.
And I'm loving seeing so many Canadian female authors.
Yes.
I mean, there's you, there's the woman who wrote The Lake, and then Carly Fortune,
I
and
know,
of course Ashley Audrain, who wrote The Push, which is also dealing with feelings of motherhood. So obviously, you read a lot of these thrillers and take inspiration as well. Did you find it liberating for you to write some of the things down through Jo that maybe you yourself wouldn't necessarily say at a mommy playgroup?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do need to talk about these things more, because I've loved hearing from first readers who have identified with little points and saying like, oh my gosh, I felt so seen in this chapter, or I've had that happen to me before. So I think I hope it kind of opens up a dialogue. I know that it has helped me, even just chatting with friends and family who've gone through similar things, and maybe we just didn't talk about it at the time. So it's been helping me. So I hope that others can identify with it too.
Yeah, I'm sure people who read If I Lose Her will connect to it on many different levels.
Yeah.
Brianne, thank you so much, and congratulations on your book. It's available today, right?
Yes, today,
right now?
yep.
All
Nationwide,
bookstores.
so yep.
Okay. Awesome. Congrats. And hey, viewers, we are giving away a signed copy of Brianne's new novel, If I Lose Her. So to win the book, you have to email the genre of the book to contest@cp24.com. Include your full name and phone number. Hopefully you're paying attention to the interview so you'll know what the genre is. And if you're playing, good luck. Brianne, thanks so much, and huge congratulations once again.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, a new report out this week commissioned by the Canadian Olympic Committee and Canadian Paralympic Committee signals a financial crisis is in the works unless annual funding is increased by $104 million. So joining us live to talk about this is David Shoemaker, Chief Executive Officer and Secretary General of the Canadian Olympic Committee. David, good to talk to you this morning. I understand this funding from the federal government hasn't gone up since 2005. So what has that meant to athletes and athletic national sports organizations in this country?
Yeah, well, there's an important story we want to tell, and I think there's an important story we have to tell right now. We're about 4.5 months out from the Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympic Games, a period where Canadian athletes will shine on behalf of this country and inspire us and bring communities together and provoke participation in sport. And we love that. And yet there's a story that underlies all of that, which is the 61 federally funded national sports organizations, or NSOs as we call them, are in a serious financial situation. We've been calling for this increase for a number of years, and we realized we needed the data to back it up. So we commissioned Deloitte to do a study on a 3-year look back and a 5-year look forward. And the results are serious, that they'll run a deficit of about $134 million in the aggregate if something isn't done and done soon.
So is this just completely falling on deaf ears in Ottawa? And I also wonder how Canadian funding compares to other international countries' funding for their athletes.
Well, I think it's fair to say Minister Qualtrough, a Paralympian herself, somebody who understands the power of sport, understands this issue, and I hope we have her support here. But it's tough. I mean, it's a federal budget that's trying to manage a lot of priorities. We're trying to say this is an issue that all Canadians should care about. They should care about it because when the Olympians do well, it inspires the country, it brings people together. We are proud of our flag. But these are also the organizations that are responsible for setting the national policies for programs across the country in all of their sports, from playground to podium. So you should worry about it for your children. I should worry about it for my children. And one of the issues is we're outspent by, let's say, Australia by double, triple by Great Britain.
Right.
So we need to catch up.
And so what could this potentially mean for the sporting organizations themselves? I mean, I understand it at the big picture, but at the sort of grassroots level, per se, I understand there's like coaches being laid off, programs being cut back. That doesn't seem to help anyone.
Well, as they're telling me that we're really at risk of them having to scale back across the organization. They're doing everything they can do to protect their mandates, to bring Olympians and Paralympians to Paris, and I'm confident that we'll do that, and we'll do probably have a record performance. But it's post-Paris that we worry about. We worry about what that means for people, and we worry about what that means for programs. And when we're trying to build a safer, more inclusive, and better sports system, it's a little hard to do that when you're being asked to do more with less.
Is there a breakdown, David, of what that $104 million would go towards in terms of where that spending is necessary just to get to the level it needs to be?
Yes, there is, and it's documented in this Deloitte report. And I think that's the power of having somebody like Deloitte do this. We'd been going to Ottawa and saying, you know, trust us. We're hearing that these national sports organizations are not faring well. 90% of them depend on primarily government funding as a source of spending. This isn't for the Canadian Olympic Committee, not for the Canadian Paralympic Committee. In our case, we're a not-for-profit funded entirely by corporate Canada.
Right.
So we're asking for this on behalf of these 61 national sports organizations.
Okay, some people might be watching this, David, and think, okay, the ask is for over $100 million. Right now, Canada's under pressure to bring up its spending on NATO to sort of, you know, satisfy some leaders around the world. Other people are saying, oh, the homeless crisis is so important, money needs to be funded there. How would you sort of defend the ask of more than $100 million toward sport at this juncture?
Yeah, that important priorities. We put it in the context, let's say, of health. where the total federal spending on sport in this country represents somewhere in the neighborhood of 1/100th of 1% of the national health care budget. And yet, physical inactivity costs us $5.2 billion a year to that very healthcare budget. I think this is a very cost-effective way of delivering against the federal government's priorities. And therefore something that we think has to get attention.
Okay, we'll see if it gets attention, because like you said, post-Paris, that's when the concern comes in. We'll hope for some good results in the summer. David Shoemaker, great to talk to you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks for the time this morning. Appreciate it.
Canadian pop star Lou Calla's star is definitely on the rise, with 3 hit singles in 2023 and more to come for her this year, as well as 2 Juno nominations coming up in March. So we are so honored and pleased to welcome Lou Calla to the show this morning. How are you doing? Welcome.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. It's great to meet you, because I've been listening to your songs and jamming to them on the radio, and they are so catchy. So congratulations, because Pretty Girl Era has been nominated for a Juno.
Yes.
And you said that writing this song was like pretty easy for you, because you were like feeling yourself. But your new ballad, your new one, Nothing But Love, that one took you almost 2 years to write. Why?
It did. I don't know. I think there's something so hard about pouring your heart to the world. You don't know how people will receive it. And I don't know, I was just so vulnerable in that song that I was like, am I really willing to tackle like all the things I'm really feeling in this song right now? So it took a longer process to get through that one.
Yeah, and it was kind of based on an ex. Is that
Yeah,
right?
everything I write is really based on me and like my real life, so.
Okay, yeah, because I love the line in the song, in the mirror I'm fine, but inside all the glass in me shattered.
That is like very factual.
That cuts. That is pretty deep. Oh my goodness.
So imagine having to commit to a full song of like those types of lyrics. It was definitely very hard to write it, but it felt very healing once I finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so fascinated about your journey, because you were born in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yes.
Moved to Canada, lived in Regent Park, then to Ajax, and you're the second youngest of 8 kids.
8 kids.
So kudos to your mom.
I don't know how she did it.
I have
My
3
mom and dad,
boys.
crazy.
I don't know how they did it either. But you said that, being in such a large family, that left you, trying to find your own rock, craving attention.
Yeah.
And then you also said that, growing up, you're always having to, fight for yourself and stand on your own 2 feet. So what was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, I don't know. I have so many siblings. I don't know why my parents did all that, but thank God they did, because now I'm here, you know? But because of it, I feel like I would always perform for my family. Like they were definitely, that was the stage for me in the beginning.
Right.
And if you grow up in like a big family, especially an African family, they'll tell you if you suck or not.
They will.
So I feel like I had to like put my best to give to them in the beginning. But I don't know, as an adult, it's really nice having this like massive family.
For sure. And do you think that's where you got your confidence from growing up?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, from that to just being different, like I've always been like a plus size girl in school, so I feel like I had to have confidence very early so no one would play with me.
I love it. I love it. And that's what your music is about, right? It's not necessarily like preachy, hey, rah, 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 let's, all rejoice and feel great. It's about, no, I feel myself, I look hot, I feel amazing, and you should also revel in this, like hoping that how you feel about yourself is inspiring other people to look in the mirror and feel the same.
That's literally the only goal, because even like in writing Pretty Girl Era, I just was feeling really great about myself during that timing. I was like, whoa, I'm like going to the drink, I'm going to the gym, I'm drinking my water, like I'm like doing my nails, and I'm just feeling really great about myself inside. So then I was like, how do I put that in a song? And to be able to put that in a song, that was just for me, and then seeing everybody else use it and relate it to themselves, like that makes me really happy.
Yeah. When people meet you and when they listen to your music, let's say they just listen to your music on the radio and they've never seen your music video or meet you, are they surprised to find out that you're Black?
They are.
Because that's something you talk about, right? Like you talk about, hey, stop trying to pigeonhole in R&B, pop, whatever. Like, I'm straight up pop music.
I make straight up pop music, and unfortunately, just being a Black girl that makes pop music, people are automatically gonna consider you like an R&B pop artist. And I'm like, I'm not making that at all. I love R&B music, but let's be serious. I would never play on any R&B stations at all. I would love to, you know, I want all the royalties in the world, but I wouldn't. So I'm like, call it what it is. I make mainstream pop music. It's definitely an uphill battle, but I don't know. I'm just going to keep putting the music out.
Yeah, and it's working for you, and it looks like you're
me.
ready for it. So, hey, kudos to you, Lou, Kala. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Juno's coming up.
I'm so excited.
I feel the vibes. I feel like you take both of them.
It's my first time ever being nominated, and like I just feel acknowledged. I don't know. I feel like the little kid in me just feels like, oh my gosh, like look at everything you've been working for, and like they're finally seeing you for who you are. So if I got to take it home, I think it'd be so much bigger than myself.
Right.
But even if not, I'm just very grateful that I got nominated.
For sure. Well, it was such a pleasure to meet you. Love
Thank
your music.
you.
Take care. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, we've been talking about this. Today is International Women's Day, and our next guests have made waves as female entrepreneurs, starting a skincare brand in their apartment and eventually making it to the Forbes 30 under 30.
So joining us live now on the couch are 3 Ships Beauty co-founders, Connie Lowe and Laura Burgett. Thank you so much for coming in this morning, and congrats on all your success.
Thank you.
So let's get down to how you started your business. It's pretty fascinating how you can go from a concept in an apartment to reality, and your sales on Amazon.ca exceeded by 250% last year. Forbes under 40. I mean, I just want to know, like, how you decided, I want to do skincare, make it transparent, and go from, like, where do we begin?
Definitely.
Tell us how it started.
Yeah, so it all started back when we were students. I was going to U of T for chemical engineering. Connie was in commerce at Queen's. And both her and I were huge fans of natural beauty, but were frustrated with how everything was so expensive or so greenwashed, claimed to be natural, but wasn't actually. And so we're like, we can do this better than what's currently on the market. I got started with tinkering around with like literally coconut oil and essential oils I bought from Whole Foods, making our first formulas. Met Connie through a mutual friend and knew that I'd found my co-founder match, and we got the business started with just $4,000.
Yeah, everything was made in my tiny apartment kitchen, like you said, in little stainless steel mixing bowls. We would sell at local craft fairs and farmers markets, and also working on their 9-to-5s at the time because we were broke college grads.
Right.
Yeah.
But fast forward today, and you can now find our 22 skincare products across North America at close to 1,000 retailers, including Whole Foods and Amazon, like you mentioned. A team of 15 full-timers. I'm really proud that they're primarily women.
Yes.
And this year will be an 8-figure revenue brand.
Wow.
That's remarkable. That's just an incredible story. So, I mean, congratulations on that story to begin with. But not only, you know, you're making a great product, a clean product but it's also, you know, let's face it, it helps majority women out in terms of feeling more confident, feeling better. What kind of satisfaction does that give you? Not just from the bottom line satisfaction of success, but the satisfaction of helping women look and feel better.
Oh my gosh, those are the best parts of our day. We always say, we still get the reviews. Every review that's left on our site comes to Connie in my inbox. And we love seeing reviews about someone saying, this is the first time I felt confident enough to leave my house without foundation since I was like a
15
child.
years,
Yeah, and that's just such a remarkable thing to be able to give to somebody, and it gives us so much joy.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys were also on Dragon's Den, so that definitely helped. But is your advice to female entrepreneurs that if you have an idea, you must have, you know, the tools? You mentioned chemical engineering, and I was going to ask, like, let's say you didn't have that degree, like, how difficult would that have been? Would you have to have, you know, reached out to a chemist at a lab or consulted with dermatologists or things like that? So, what's your advice to women who have an idea but they actually have no idea how it actually works?
Honestly, a lot of the times when people ask us about the beginning days, they're like, oh, well, you have this degree, that's probably how you're able to do it. Laura and I said Google is our best friend. Like, we had no connections, no investors, no funding, no beauty experience, but just Googled everything, literally searched what are the best natural ingredients for dry skin? What are the best natural ingredients for oily skin? And that's just how we got started. So to anyone listening out there who wants to start their own business, first, learn to sell is the thing that Laura and I always say.
We both really have sales backgrounds.
Exactly. And we really attribute a lot of those early day successes to the fact that we know how to sell. And as an entrepreneur, you're constantly selling, whether it's your product to customers or your vision to investors or future employees. So really recommend learning to sell.
And so where you've come today is pretty remarkable. There are some challenges along the way. I mean, perhaps they're different for women entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, Laura, in terms of how you overcame those, because I'm sure it didn't all come easy.
Oh, it did not come easy. We launched the business during COVID, so that was its own challenge alone. We dealt with so many supply chain logistical issues that every business was facing. I was also diagnosed with a brain tumor at that same time as well. So it was just a crazy, crazy time. So we've had our own set of challenges as individuals, but of course as women, you do have uphill battles that men don't have to face. I think a lot of this is just because of societal standards, that women are told to be small, not take up too much space, be very modest, not be overly aggressive, not take risks. So I think what we should all do is encourage our young girls to make mistakes, to fail, to fall down, to be brash and bold and assertive. And those skills have served us so well. We're very lucky that our parents only had girls, and so we were encouraged to be like this when we were growing up.
Yeah, and Connie, I know that you guys have been also open about, you know, despite winning the RBC Entrepreneurship Award, Young Entrepreneurship Awards, and all your kind of credits, you do still suffer from that good old imposter syndrome that we all have. I mean, I have it too. Like, why am I here? I make so many mistakes every morning. But like, how do you overcome that and say, no, I'm a boss, I'm doing this, charge ahead?
Honestly, I wish I had a better answer, but I feel like as you grow older, imposter syndrome never fully goes away, and I wish that wasn't the case. But what I've realized is as you grow older, you go through more mistakes, you learn more, you face new problems every day. So the ones that you knew how to overcome in the beginning days of starting a company, like as an example, you're gonna learn those, but the new ones you don't know yet. So I think the biggest thing is to document your wins throughout the day. This has been the biggest game changer for me, and we also share this with our team. So this way, throughout the day, you're thinking like, what have I done? And it could be something as small as opening a door for someone, or it could be something as big as landing Amazon.ca. But it's really about documenting those wins and looking back and taking the time to reflect. So highly recommend that to your audience.
Okay, that is amazing. Last question, very quickly. I'm so curious, why the name Three Ships?
Do you want to tell the story?
Sure. So we really want a name that would reflect our less is more philosophy, because we're all about you don't need a 12-step routine to have great skin, you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars. And we came across the story of the discovery of the Fountain of Youth, which unfortunately is not a real place, but what we love about the story is that the explorer was known for only having 3 ships versus most explorers would have dozens and dozens of boats. So the one that made the biggest discovery was the one that had the fewest resources.
Interesting.
So if you're interested in learning more, check out 3 ships.
Okay, so cool. I love that. Oh my gosh, Laura, Connie, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and congratulations to your company and all your success. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Happy International Women's Day. Great to speak to you.
Happy International Women's Day.